Well, we'll just keep rolling on here, and our next speaker is the one and only James Shore. James, welcome. Welcome back to PNSQC. It's great to have you here, and really looking forward to your talk on a fast way to scale. I know you've been working on this alternative to SAFe for quite a while, and trying to take out some of the overhead. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
All right, can everybody online hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right. Haven't we talked about scaling enough? I mean, there are lots of approaches to scaling out there. One of them is very well known. It was mentioned earlier. I will not utter its name in public. It's not safe to do so. Scaling, I want to be clear. When I'm talking about scaling, I'm talking about having multiple people working on a single product or portfolio such that you have multiple interdependent teams. That's scaling. And there is an elephant in this tar pit, which is that scaling is ultimately about coordination, coordinating people, coordinating how they work, not just coordinating on your plans, but coordinating on how the work is done, which means we have to talk about code, software development, the stuff that people would rather not talk about. It's so much fun to talk about. Oh, let's say that we've got these managers over here and the people planning over here and maybe some trains going by over here. That's fun. But no, we need to talk about code. That's the elephant in the tar pit. And the coordination problem is more difficult when you're talking about code, because now you have to have people's knowledge coming together. There are a variety of ways that have been done to solve this. The most obvious and most common is component teams. That's where we have a database team, a front-end team, a back-end team, a QA team, a database. Did I say database team? We might have two database teams, maybe one for this database, one for that database. The problem with that is anytime we want to deliver any feature, all these teams have to coordinate. And that leads to what you're seeing here on the screen, which this is real. This is from a real company I worked with. Everybody has to coordinate. It's very hard to get anything done. Another approach, value stream teams. You've probably heard of the book Team Topologies. In the book Team Topologies, it talks about this idea of cross-functional teams that have autonomy. Autonomy is a great word. Have autonomy for getting their work done and delivering on a particular part of the product or a market segment or something else. I've been using this approach for years. It works really well. But there are still problems with it. 5 to 7 people on a team means that it's really hard to have security, ops, database, front-end, back-end testing, and still have time to do the program work. So how do you get all these people on the team? Additionally, these teams form bottlenecks. When your business needs change, you want to have more people on this part of the product than that part of the product. But if you have these stream-aligned teams, that means that you have to have more people on this team versus that team, but just your teams are only 5 to 7 people. That leads to a problem. Every time you want to change direction, you have to think about redesigning your organization. That's a challenge. Now, I have had experience with these approaches. Like I said, I've been using the stream-aligned approach for many years, since before the term was coined, and I like it. It works. But there are these problems with it. I've been looking for a better way. In 2019, I went to the Agile Open Source Conference and I heard Ron Cortell speak on a process called FAST, Fluid Scaling Technology. The idea of FAST is it is about radical self-organization. Teams are going to decide for themselves what they're going to work on and who they're going to work with, and they're going to make this decision every 2 days. That's crazy pants. That is insane. It reminds me about when I first heard about extreme programming and pair programming and evolutionary design, which was also insane. So insane, I had to try it, and it worked really well. So I heard about FAST. I thought, this is insane, but I have experience with self-organizing. I have experience with team self-selection. This is an actual team self-selection event from a company I worked with, and it works. So maybe FAST could work too. I've got to try it. In mid 2021, I was working with a company that had a problem that was amenable to being solved with FAST, and they agreed to try FAST. It's my first opportunity to use FAST. I'm very grateful for them for giving me the opportunity. We put it into place in October 2021, and I continued working with them until March 2021. What's my next slide? I've lost track. There it is. All right. Where am I on my list? Yes. So we worked with them from October to March. To this day, I believe they're still using it. The thing is it actually worked. It worked really well. So let's talk about what FAST is. FAST is a lightweight, simple to understand, and simple to master method for organizing people around work that scales. How much time do I got? I got 5 minutes. That's from the FAST guide. You can find that at fastagile.io. In practice, what this means is that you're going to get everybody together in a room. We were remote, so we got everybody together around a virtual Miro board. The business directors in the organization, in this case, it was the executives, but you might have a product director or a product manager or something like that. The people who are setting the direction for the larger team are going to put the current information about business priorities up on a wall, or in our case, up on the Miro board. And then the members of the team, which FAST calls a collective, are going to volunteer to lead small teams, 4 to 6 to 8 people, usually around 5 or 6 in our experience, to work on something that will get them closer to achieving that business goal. It may be building features. It often is, but it also might be test automation or architectural changes or refactoring or build automation, whatever the people on the ground think is the most appropriate way to accomplish the goals of the organization. They will say, I want to lead a team to work on this thing. And anybody in the larger collective can do that. Now, in the experience we had, it was just the engineers because they had a lot of project managers in that company and they didn't have a lot of engineering leadership, grassroots engineering leadership. So they wanted to establish more engineering leadership. So they said only the engineers can lead teams. But in FAST, anybody can lead a team. This is called stewarding a team, by the way. Once everybody has stood up and said, I want to steward a team to do this, then everybody else volunteers to join a team. If you're in person, you just physically walk over to the person that has got the team that you want to join. Online, you're going to put your sticky and a little card. This is what our Miro board looked like. On the top, you have sort of a Kanban-esque board, business priorities, and on the bottom of all the teams and what people are going to work on. And the way people, the team was they dragged their orange sticky over to a square. This was pretty complicated, and it was complicated because of the business constraints of the organization that we were within. This is what I'd recommend you start with. Just a little Kanban on the board on the top. This is what we're working on. This is what's up next. And on the bottom, a box for each team. This is what the team is working on. This is the person who's stewarding the team. These are the people who want to work on the team. And then they go off and work for a couple of days. The 2 days, or however long you want to be, FAST recommends that you start with 2 days, but you can choose any time you want, is not an iteration. It's not, we are going to finish this thing by the end of our 2 days. It's just, this is when we're going to check in. This is what we're planning to work on. We're going to work on it until the time is up. And then the next time, maybe we'll work on it some more. And that is FAST. That is all there is to it. This meeting takes about 15 minutes, maybe 20 if you're talkative. And it happens 2 times a week. And that is the entirety of what you need to know to be successful with FAST. People do often have questions though. And I've got 3 minutes left, 3-ish minutes left. Depends on whether you all want to ask questions or not. One question that people ask me is, if everybody is joining, I'm actually not done, but I will give you a chance to ask a question. If everybody is joining teams every couple of days, isn't that a recipe for chaos? No, actually, what happens is that people tend to stay on the same team for a while. They only change teams because people get used to working on something. They only change teams when there's another thing that needs their attention, or if the thing that their team is working on is done. So what we have here is the actual record of how people work together in this organization. The solid black lines are people moving from team to team. If you don't see a solid black line, it means they stayed on the same team or they went on vacation or something like that. So what I want you to notice is that after the first couple of days, or after the first couple of weeks, I should say, they kind of got the rhythm. They had it figured out and they more or less stayed on the same team. I also want you to notice that those green check boxes, that means that they've finished a valuable increment. They've delivered something to market. Prior to introducing FAST, it took 2 to 3 months to deliver something to market. Now they're doing it every couple of days because each row is a FAST meeting. That's every couple of days. Down at the bottom, you can see how one team finishes something and then they just switch over to something new pretty much all together. So what you see in this environment is that people more or less stay on the same team except when something needs their attention. There's some new business priority that's come along. There's somebody working on something that they can't solve without your help, and then people move accordingly. People also ask me, how do teams maintain momentum? We use a task planning approach. Built into FAST is something called discovery trees. You don't have to use it, but we did, and it took them a little while to get the hang of it, but they eventually did. And what you see here is just all the tasks that people are working on, along with lots of context. Here it is, what we're working on. Here's the business information that we need. This is what this is all about. This was just kept on the Miro board. People also ask me, how do we decide what is going to be worked on? That is independent of FAST. According to the FAST guide, you should use story maps. I don't think that's necessary. And my experience is that every organization needs their own approach to this question, which I call idea flow. The way we solved in this organization is based on my book, The Art of Agile Development, and it consists of 3 things. Purpose, which I think is very important. What is it that we're trying to solve for our stakeholders and why is it important? Visual plan, what is it that we're going to deliver in terms of valuable increments? And prioritization. This organization had lots and lots and lots of stakeholders and not very many people. It was about 40 people in the FAST collective. So they had a lot of prioritization to do. Those priorities fed back into the FAST meeting, and then the decisions about what the FAST collective was going to work on fed back into decisions. So my conclusion to this, FAST is a group of people who self-organize into teams on a frequent cadence. I found that it worked really well. It's very easy to incorporate specialties. You don't have to have one person in every specialty for every team because you just need one person in the larger collective. And then they join the work as they need to work. We had 2 machine learning specialists, 3, depending on how you count it. And they just joined the work that needed to be done. We had front-end expertise and we had database expertise because this was business intelligence group. Those folks just joined the work that needed their expertise when they needed it. It's very responsive to changing business needs. As new stuff came along, and because this organization had way too many stakeholders, their needs changed very frequently. They just put that on the board. People took it up, they worked on it, they delivered it, they moved on to something else. It's resilient to people joining and leaving. In fact, they had people in India join. I did not expect a half-hour time difference. They had these folks in India just join the collective, and according to all reports, this was after I left, it worked smoothly. Now, we did have some trouble with collective ownership and team dynamics. That was mostly because this organization, prior to us starting to use FAST, was all people working in individual silos on separate projects. So getting over that was kind of a challenge. They did get over it eventually, but it's something I would keep an eye on if I were you. So if you're going to try this, if you're interested in scaling more effectively with less bureaucracy, we're talking about 30 minutes a week is the entire overhead of this process. I highly recommend FAST. I'd suggest starting it with 2 interested teams, see how it works, and then progress from there. You can scale this up to about 60 people per collective, and then you can use stream-aligned teams for each collective. So to summarize, FAST starts out with putting your business goals on the roll. People volunteer to steward teams focused on something that's going to approach that objective. People volunteer to join those teams. They work for 2 days, and then you repeat. twice a week. This has been a fast way to scale. I hope I've gotten the right speed. I'm James Shore. Thank you.
All right, James, thanks very much.